Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going into a story that is genuinely chilling. It's a true crime case from Switzerland. Now, when you think of Switzerland, you probably picture, peace, happiness, maybe those amazing mountains, an incredibly low crime rate, right? But the story we have today, it really contrasts sharply with that image. This case shook the country right to its core back in 2015. It all started with a house fire in this small, quiet town called Rupperswil. Seemed like a tragedy, an accident. But what emerged from the ashes was, well, something far more sinister. We're talking about a quadruple murder. And it led to this massive hunt for the person responsible, someone the press eventually called the Beast. So today we're going to lay out the whole horrifying sequence of events, the investigation, and the really disturbing truth behind the Beast of Rupperswil. Let's get into it. Okay, so picture Rupperswil. It's a small, peaceful town in Aargau, Switzerland. Maybe 5,000 people live there. It's about 30 kilometers west of Zurich. And the key thing here is its history, or rather lack of history with violent crime. We're talking virtually none. So what happened there was just profoundly shocking for everyone. The date was December 21st, 2015. Just a few days before Christmas, a neighbor spots a house fire and calls it in. The house belonged to Carla F. She was 48. She lived there with her two sons, Dion, who was 19, and Davin, only 13. And her boyfriend, Jorg, lived there too. Dion's girlfriend, Simona, she was 21, was also staying over. By all accounts, just a normal, well-liked family, known for being kind.
Yeah, the sources really emphasize that. Carla was known for her generosity. Jorg was seen as a good stepfather. There were absolutely no red flags, as you might say. Nothing to suggest something like this could ever happen to them. That absence is really significant in cases like this.
Jorg had actually left for work pretty early that morning, so he wasn't there when the fire started. As the flames grew, Carla's parents, they lived nearby, they rushed over, along with neighbors. Everyone's frantically trying to call Carla, Dion, Davin, but nobody's picking up. The phones just keep ringing. You can just imagine the fear building, right? Firefighters got there quickly, managed to control the blaze, but then came the discovery inside. Any hope that maybe they'd escaped, it just vanished. They found 4 bodies. At first, maybe you think, okay, a terrible, tragic fire accident. But the investigators, they knew almost immediately that wasn't right. The scene told a different story. The bodies were found lying flat, and their hands and feet were bound. And here's the truly horrific part. All 4 had fatal stab wounds to the neck.
And crucially, inflicted before the fire was set. That detail changes everything. This wasn't an accident covered by fire. This was a calculated quadruple murder, and the fire was just an attempt to destroy evidence.
Exactly, a cover-up. The news just ripped through Rupperswil. This peaceful town was suddenly terrified. People started locking doors, something they probably never did before. There was this deep sense of mistrust. This became the biggest, most shocking murder case the region had ever seen. So the authorities, they had to respond, and respond massively.
They really did. Your sources mention a special committee, 40 members strong, plus 100 officers in the field. That's an enormous mobilization for Switzerland. It shows just how seriously they took this, how unprecedented it was.
Naturally, the first place investigators look is usually close to home, so suspicion initially fell on Jorg, Carla's boyfriend, since he was the one who'd left the house that morning.
That's standard procedure, focusing on the immediate circle first.
Yeah.
But it's also incredibly delicate, right? You're dealing with someone potentially grieving profoundly while also investigating them.
Yeah, it's a tough balance. But then came a really critical piece of evidence. DNA. Found at the crime scene. They ran it through all the criminal databases, hoping for a match. Nothing. No hits.
Which is a huge problem for investigators.
Yeah.
It strongly suggests that the killer has no prior criminal record. They're essentially invisible to the system at that point.
So they had to go broader. They did extensive DNA testing, family, neighbors, even Carla's ex-husband. But Jorg was cleared. Everyone close to the family was cleared.
Right. So the focus has to shift again. If it's not someone known to them, what's the motive?
They started looking into Carla's life. Any enemies, any financial issues. And that's when they found something significant. On the morning she died, Carla made 2 big cash withdrawals from 2 different banks and the CCTV footage. It's chilling. She looks incredibly stressed, anxious. The report said it was as if someone was forcing her.
That's a major turning point. It suggests the motive might be robbery, extortion. Someone forced her to get that money.
Definitely. So the investigation broadens again. They start analyzing masses of digital data, over 30,000 mobile phone signals from cell towers near the house on that day, just trying to find any connection, any anomaly. The case got international attention too. German news covered it heavily. Interpol got involved. The pressure was immense. Okay, so 2 months go by. It's February 2016. Still no solid suspect. The authorities hold a press conference. They offer a reward, 100,000 Swiss francs. That's what, about 110,000 US dollars?
Record amount for Switzerland. It shows how desperate they were getting for a lead.
Yeah, but even with that huge reward, nothing. They questioned over 250 people who were flagged for various reasons, all cleared. 5 more months passed. Total silence. The investigation seems stalled. So the police decided to try something, well, pretty innovative, something involving digital footprints. They decided to look for people who were searching online about the case obsessively.
This is where it gets really interesting, technically speaking. It was a collaboration between the Swiss authorities and Google. They weren't just looking at who searched, but the intensity and timing of the searches. They were looking for IP addresses in Switzerland, showing an unusual, almost compulsive level of interest in the Carla F. family murders.
Like someone who couldn't stop looking it up.
Exactly. It's using digital behavior as a potential indicator of guilt, or at least intense involvement.
And unbelievably, it worked. One IP address just jumped out at them. This person had searched about the family before the murders happened and then intensely after at really suspicious times. That IP address led them straight to a guy named Thomas Nick, 33 years old, lived locally.
Right, less than 500 meters from Carla's house, which is incredibly close.
On the surface, totally normal guy. Youth football coach, club manager, lived with his mom, had 2 dogs, no criminal record whatsoever.
So the IP address is suspicious, the proximity is suspicious, but they needed more.
They dug into his phone records again, and they found something weird. Thomas Nick walked his dogs every day, usually right past Carla's house. His phone signal always showed that route. But on December 21st, the day of the murders, his phone signal was completely absent from that area.
Suggesting he either turned it off deliberately or took a completely different route, avoiding the crime scene area. That discrepancy between his routine and his actions on that specific day, that really ramps up the suspicion.
Okay, so suspicion is high, but Swiss law is strict. They needed concrete proof before they could arrest him. Specifically, they needed his DNA to compare to the crime scene sample, and they had to get it without tipping him off. So they came up with a plan, a pretty clever one, actually. They knew Thomas was going to be traveling out of town on May 11th, 2016. So the police set up a fake roadside alcohol checkpoint on his route.
Just a routine stop.
Exactly. They pulled him over, asked him to blow into the breathalyzer, standard procedure. He passed, no alcohol. But that little bit of saliva left on the mouthpiece, that was everything. They had his DNA.
And it was a perfect match to the DNA found at the crime scene.
Bingo! They had him. The very next morning, May 12th, 9:00 a.m. sharp, a heavily armed police team moved in. They arrested Thomas Nick at a local cafe. Very dramatic. They hooded him immediately, took him away. He wouldn't know where he was going.
And the public prosecutor announced the arrest almost immediately. Made a point of saying, the time of uncertainty and fear has ended. Huge relief for the community.
When they arrested him, they searched his bag, and what they found inside was just terrifying. A pistol, a knife, rope, zip ties, fire accelerant, duct tape, gloves, and sex toys.
Chilling. It strongly suggested he was planning another attack, possibly very soon. His arrest likely prevented another tragedy.
Faced with that DNA match, undeniable proof, Thomas Nick didn't hold out. He confessed to everything, and his confession revealed the full horrific story and the motive. It was beyond dark. He admitted he had this obsessive infatuation with Davin, Carla's 13-year-old son. Yeah. He confessed to being a pedophile.
And the evidence found at his home backed this up in the most disturbing way. Police discovered over 11,000 files of child pornography, images, videos, mostly boys aged 11 to 14. And chillingly, many of them looked strikingly similar to Davin. It confirmed his motive and revealed a long-standing pattern.
He hadn't just acted impulsively. He'd planned this meticulously for months. Police found a notebook where he detailed his entire horrific 5-step plan. Step 1, a fake school letter. Step 2, robbery. Step 3, child sexual abuse. Step 4, murder. Step 5, arson. He'd laid it all out.
Just cold, calculated planning. He'd even stalked Davin, knew the family's routines inside out.
So December 21st, 2015, he puts the plan into action, waits for Jorg to leave for work around 7:15 a.m. He goes to the door, pretends to be Sebastian, a school psychologist. He has fake documents, claims he needs to talk about Davin being involved in bullying at school.
A plausible story, playing on a mother's concern.
Exactly. Carla lets him in. But then he finds Simone, Dion's girlfriend, is also there. That wasn't part of his plan, but he adapts. He pulls a knife, threatens Carla, forces her to get everyone together, tie them up. Then around 9:30 a.m., that neighbor shows up for their planned workout. Thomas forces Carla to deal with her, send her away.
Carla, under duress, only opens a small dog flap, lets the dog out, but says nothing to the neighbor. The neighbor leaves, confused, but unsuspecting.
Then Thomas forces Carla to open her laptop, show her bank details, demands she go withdraw money. He tells her if she fails or tries to signal for help, he'll kill her family, claims he has accomplices watching her. Pure terror tactic.
And we know from the CCTV footage how terrified she looked during those withdrawals.
Yeah. Between about 9:50 and 10:30 a.m., she withdraws the cash, over 400,000 Swiss francs. She comes back, probably praying this is the end, that he'll just take the money and leave.
But he doesn't. He ties her up too.
And then the truly unspeakable part happens. Thomas sexually abuses Davin in front of his mother, his brother, his brother's girlfriend, and he records it. Police later found that video.
Just unimaginable horror for that family.
At some point, Dion, the older brother, tries to break free, to fight back. Thomas reacts instantly. He slits Dion's throat, kills him right there. Then he murders Simone, then Davin, and finally Carla, making her watch her children die before killing her.
Methodical. Brutal. After everyone is dead, he arranges the bodies on furniture, uses the accelerant he brought, sets the house on fire.
And then just calmly leaves, goes home, showers, walks his mother's dogs. Later that night, he goes to a casino, gambles with the money he stole from Carla.
The level of detachment is just staggering.
Get this. He admitted to police that he watched the video he recorded the abuse, the murders, he watched it every week, right up until about 5 days before he was arrested.
Reliving it. That's deeply, deeply disturbing.
And there's more. Police found files on his computer detailing 11 other potential child victims he was actively stalking. He'd already started targeting 2 of them, and that day he was caught, May 11th, at that fake checkpoint.
Don't tell me.
He was on his way to target one of those other children. The police trap didn't just catch a killer, it almost certainly prevented another horrific crime.
Fortunate timing doesn't even begin to cover it.
The trial started March 13th, 2018, 2 years after the arrest. Thomas Nix confessed to everything again in court. No resistance. Murder, extortion, kidnapping, the sexual abuse, child pornography, arson, all of it.
Psychological evaluations diagnosed him with severe pedophilia disorder. They noted his profound lack of empathy, his cold-blooded nature. His claim of being in a trance didn't hold much water against the evidence of meticulous planning.
His defense lawyer, Renee, caused a huge public backlash. Her strategy was controversial, to say the least. She tried to shift some blame onto Carla for letting him in, for not alerting the neighbor or the bank tellers.
Victim blaming in a case like this, that's outrageous.
And she even argued that slitting their throats was somehow merciful compared to letting them burn alive, trying to paint it as some kind of perverse compassion. People were furious.
It highlights that strange irony too, doesn't it? The sources mention how much he seemed to love his own mother, even faked a degree to impress her. Yet he showed zero mercy to Carla, another mother, while he destroyed her family right in front of her. A complete psychological disconnect.
So, sentencing. Switzerland's system is interesting. It really emphasizes rehabilitation. An indefinite prison sentence, the maximum, is rare. It's only given if 2 independent psychiatrists agree the person is basically beyond rehabilitation.
And in Nick's case,
they agreed. Both psychiatrists deemed him irredeemable, so he received the indefinite sentence. He has to serve a minimum of 20 years before he can even be considered for a review about potential release.
So he's in Pushwi's prison now, undergoing treatment. And he was ordered to pay significant sums to the victims' families and for court costs.
Yeah, around 700,000 Swiss francs to the families, plus another $500,000 or so in costs. Reports apparently say he's been a well-behaved prisoner, plans to study political science, expresses a desire to eventually get out, care for his mother and dogs, contribute to society.
Which brings us to that really difficult question, doesn't it, for you, the listener, to consider. Can someone who committed acts like these, planned with such coldness, someone labeled a beast, truly be rehabilitated? Can they ever safely rejoin society? Or does a case like Thomas Nix reveal a potential weakness in a justice system focused on rehabilitation when faced with such extreme calculated evil? Especially when his stated goals for release seem so, ordinary after such profound monstrosity?
It's a question that lingers, especially for those affected. The pain for the families is, of course, immense and ongoing. Jorg, Carla's boyfriend, he wrote a book about his grief called Femur, which means forever. And Carla's parents, they just have to live every day with losing their daughter and grandchildren in the most horrific way imaginable. The Rupperswil case really stands as this chilling reminder that even in places you think are the safest, the most peaceful, unimaginable darkness can exist. It really speaks to that terrifying duality of human nature, capable of such wonder but also such profound, calculated brutality. If you're drawn to stories like this, ones that explore the darker side of things and try to make sense of real-life mysteries, then you're definitely in the right place. For more true crime stories and these kinds of in-depth looks, please do like, share, and subscribe to the Horror Doc channel. We really appreciate your support, and we'll be back soon with another story. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.